My love of this week is, if you didn't already know, I said it. I was on my European getaway, and I love the transportation in Amsterdam and London. First off, the tube was delayed. I put that in quotes. The whole time I was there for part of it, and it didn't even feel delayed, which means that it's even better when it's not delayed. They came on time. It was clean. I got a seat, except there was no AC, but because they keep the windows open, you do get a breeze. So it was a little bit hotter, but
how do you feel about those
not
velvet
as
seats
scary
on the District and
I
Circle line?
cannot talk about the velvet
You can't sit
seats.
on those velvet seats on the
Okay,
District
but they
and
do
Circle
have like
line.
tushy rests, like an area like by the entrance
Yes.
of the car.
Those, on the old ones?
Yeah, a lot of them
The
have
other
tushy,
lines are
the
okay.
tushy rests.
Jubilee line? Did you ride that
Jubilee line,
The
of
Northern
course.
line?
I was on the
you rode
Northern line.
the Northern line. Northern line's good.
Anyway, so that was good. And then I loved the trams in Amsterdam. The biking is horrible. It is so scary. It's so hard to cross the street. Seriously, their bike lane is the same size, if not wider than the car lane. So it was really interesting navigating crossing the street, and you have to use the crosswalks. Like, you can't jaywalk.
I think we've told this before, but
The Will story?
yes.
I'll tell the Will story in a second. I was thinking about it all week. And I love the tram. The tram is amazing. Although it doesn't come as frequently as I would like, I just love it. I think New York should get a fucking tram.
Does it run all night?
Their transportation closes. And in London, which is why the tube is so safe, because they close it overnight so people can't live there.
In Boston, they close.
They
1
should
a.m.
all
Like
close.
1, 2 a.m.?
They should all close and try to make buses or like whatever, make it more affordable. New mayor, you want a free bus? What about fixing up the subway? Question mark. So let's say this. We have an iconic Amsterdam story. It's not ours to tell, but it was almost like we were there. So Will went to Amsterdam with his friends after his senior year of high school.
After senior year of high school.
And Will
Rented a bike.
Oh, I was going to say something else. Will loves to think that he's the expert traveler due to the fact that he's rewatched every season of The Amazing Race multiple times. So Will thinks he's the traveler of the century. And I'm not going to lie, he's a great traveler, but I wouldn't say the traveler of the century. And so Will and his friend rent bikes to feel like locals in Amsterdam, which already to me feels questionable because they are so aggressive when they bike. It's really scary. Like, I'm a good bike rider, and I would never ride a bike there. Seriously,
I thought you
never.
rode a bike last time when you went to go see the tulips.
No. You think Natalie was going to ride a bike?
True.
Natalie can't ride
Touche.
a bike.
Natalie is not... Natalie, we love you, but maybe not the most coordinated
Not the
person.
most coordinated and has brittle bones. So Will is showing off.
You've outed Natalie's bones.
Oh, Natalie's bones have outed themselves.
I know, it's true.
She's broken every single bone.
It's true.
Okay. So Will is like, was he showing off? What was it?
No. He was just crossing the street.
He was just crossing
I think
the
so.
street.
I think he was crossing the street.
Okay. I thought he might have been like showing off like, hey, I'm such a good biker, but
I don't think
rumor
so.
has it he was just crossing the street. And as I mentioned, they have trams there, so the tracks run in the street, and Will decided to stupidly go over one of the tram tracks, which then caused the front tire of his bike to get lodged in the track because it's like that thin line, so your bike wheel would fit in there perfectly. And he fell forward, his shorts got caught, and they ripped.
No, his pants. Yes, long pants.
He's wearing long pants? I thought he was wearing shorts.
I think he wore long pants and it ripped at the knee whole area.
No, it didn't rip at the knee area. His
The butt?
boxers,
Oh,
his
the
boxers were out for
Oh,
everybody,
right,
and they
right,
were all
right.
laughing at him.
Oh.
So everybody was laughing at Will, all of the locals, because his pants ripped down the middle because he decided to be a little bit bold and go over the tram track. And ever since I heard that, I have not wanted to
I
bike
see
in
it,
Amsterdam.
a crumpled mess of Will with his bike next to him on the pavement in Amsterdam.
He said people laughed.
I'm sure they did.
Tushy out.
Stupid American?
Stupid American always.
Yeah, no, Will.
We live and we learn. That's why I did not bike in Amsterdam.
Okay, shall we move on?
So that was my love. Hate.
Yeah, my hate is a little, well, I always do that. Okay, I read the news today. I want to talk about this. I read about Mystic, Texas today, and I am it's not a hate, it's a sad. I am very sad about
There
the
could be
flooding.
a hate in there, though.
The hate is
That we have a government that doesn't believe in climate change and didn't send out notifications in time.
Or that we have a government that had known that some of the camps were at risk for something like this, and they chose not to do anything, as per the front page of the New York Times today. So I am very sad to read about these little girls who are at this Christian summer camp. And how many girls were there? 750, and 30 girls died or are missing in Mystic, Texas. Other people have died too. 80 people have died because of the floods. And I just, it's really heartbreaking when you read it today. And you read about the heroism. New York Times told a story about a guy who is a emergency responder, and he's in his 20s, and he's never been called before. And he got called this weekend, and he saved 163 girls.
Wow.
Yeah, and he stayed on the ground with the girls to get them into helicopters and save them. It's really something. So very sad for that community. Hard.
Yes. Also, I feel like as we live in the Northeast, a lot of people go to sleepaway camp, and my friends and I were talking about this, but as a camp counselor, especially as I've been in the past, you prepare for every single incident. You train for an active shooter, if there's a fire, or even if somebody wakes up homesick in the middle of the night, but you never really think about a natural disaster being something that would impact you as well as your campers, and something that you'd have to shield them from. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Like a weather disaster impacts everybody, right? Like, did they know what to do? And I think some of these counselors were just heroic.
Well, I also think that they got flooded so quickly that they probably didn't even have time to really act.
Yep.
Yeah, devastating, heartbreaking, and I think really, especially as somebody who loves sleepaway camp so much, and it's the best place on earth, it's just so upsetting to have that association.
I have to say,
my hate looks like shit.
Okay, sorry, but there wasn't a sentence I read that I thought, oh, I don't think you'd read that in the Northeast, and it talked about how when the flooding was happening, parents and first responders and the community rallied to go try and find all these kids, and the modes of transportation were very different. I think. I mean, you expect like pickup truck, but then there's like helicopter, golf cart, horse, because it's Texas, and so I thought that was really drones. Just people were sending up drones looking for the kids.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we
upsetting.
are thinking about that community and hope for the best for the kids who are still missing.
So terrible. All right. Well, my hate is really small.
Superficial.
Yeah, I was going to say small potatoes, but I lost my bracelet when I was away. It was given to me by Bubby. I wanted to bring it up because I love the story that was associated with it. And even though I don't have the bracelet anymore, I would like the story to be said. So last year, which is what makes it sadder to me, because as we all know, Bubby died this past year. We were at the beach, and it was actually on the 4th of July, so it is timely. And Bubby was sitting in the living room wearing her bracelet, and she is not a woman that had a lot of jewelry, so I thought she's so fancy for wearing her little bracelet. I never see her wear that. And so I complimented her, and I said, Bubby, I love your bracelet. And she took it off and she gave it to me. And I haven't taken it off since. And when I was in London, it must have fallen off, I think, in my hotel, but they claim it's not there. So I really just wanted to tell this story and say that my bracelet is greatly missed. And while it's hard in those situations because you have such a strong memory attached to an item, you also have to remind yourself that is just a thing, and the memory is the most important part.
What would Bubby say? She would say, Ava,
I can buy a new bracelet.
Pretty much, but not in that way. She would say, Ava, it's just stuff. It's not the important. The important things are the important things. A bracelet is just stuff.
Well, I still miss it, so that's my hate.
Yeah, I understand.